Offensive lines double team him, triple team him. Nothing works. He doesn't just play defense, he dominates it. Fast like a linebacker, strong like a lineman, and smart enough to read every play before it happens. Game after game, he wrecks entire offenses by himself. Coaches plan around him, quarterbacks fear him. But who is this unstoppable force tearing through the NFL like a one-man army? Get ready to meet the most feared, most relentless player the league has ever seen. Aaron Donald didn't look like your typical NFL star when he entered the league. He was shorter than most defensive linemen, not as heavy, and didn't have the body type that usually scares quarterbacks before the game even starts. But what he lacked in size, he made up for with something far more dangerous: relentless drive and skill that could break game plans in minutes. When he got drafted in 2014 by the Rams, some teams were still unsure about him. They thought he might be too small to handle the brutal life inside the trenches of the NFL. That was a mistake. From the moment he stepped onto the field, he made it very clear. He wasn't just another defensive tackle. He was going to be a nightmare. In his very first season, he made a statement: 9 sacks, 18 tackles for loss, and a reputation that made teams start double-teaming him almost right away. And that was just the beginning. Over the next 10 years, Aaron Donald became something you don't see very often: a defensive player who took over games like a superstar quarterback. He didn't just make tackles, he wrecked entire plays before they even had a chance to start. What really made Donald different wasn't just his stats, it was how he got them. Quarterbacks didn't just get sacked, they felt pressure on nearly every snap. Coaches were drawing up extra protection schemes just to deal with him. Teams were using 2 or 3 linemen at once to try to slow him down, and many times that still wasn't enough. Imagine you're an NFL offensive lineman. You've trained your whole life. You're one of the best in the world. And still, you line up across from number 99 and you know you're in trouble. That's the kind of presence Aaron Donald had. Every Sunday, he made professional athletes look outmatched. But it wasn't just brute strength. He studied the game like a veteran. He knew how to use his hands, how to time his moves, and how to spot the smallest mistake in the blocker's stance. His footwork was quick, his reaction even quicker, and his mindset completely focused. He played with a chip on his shoulder, like every snap was personal. By the end of his 3rd season, he was already seen as the best at his position. And not just for that moment. People started saying he might be the best ever. When a defensive tackle starts getting talked about like that, when you hear his name mentioned next to legends like Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White, that tells you everything. And the scary part? He was just getting started. Because the very next season, Aaron Donald came back even more dangerous. In 2017, Aaron Donald held out from training camp. He wanted a better contract, one that matched how valuable he was to the Rams. But the team didn't give in right away. So, Donald stayed away from team practices until the season had already started. Still, when he finally returned, he didn't look rusty at all. He came back and immediately started dominating again, proving he was worth every penny he was asking for. That year, he didn't just perform well, he was the best defensive player in the league. He finished the season with 11 sacks and 27 quarterback hits. And remember, this was all while being double-teamed almost every play. Donald didn't just beat his man, he beat 2, sometimes even 3. He was a wrecking ball in the middle of the field. And by the end of the season, he was awarded Defensive Player of the Year. After proving how much of a game-changer he was, the Rams finally gave him what he wanted. They signed him to a huge 6-year contract worth over $130 million, making him the highest-paid defensive player in NFL history at the time. But what happened next was what really separated him from so many others. A lot of players slowed down after getting paid. Not Donald. He got even better. In 2018, he had one of the greatest seasons any defensive player has ever had. He racked up 20.5 sacks, more than some teams get in an entire season, and he wasn't even playing on the edge like most sack leaders do. He was doing this from the inside, the hardest place to consistently get to the quarterback. On top of that, he had 41 quarterback hits and forced 4 fumbles. Offensive lines simply had no answer for him. He ended that year by winning his 2nd straight Defensive Player of the Year award, joining legends like Lawrence Taylor and J.J. Watt as the only players to win it back-to-back. And with Donald leading the defense, the Rams went all the way to the Super Bowl. It was a low-scoring battle, but despite the loss, Donald had once again shown he was on another level. Then came 2019. The team struggled, but Donald didn't slow down. He had 12.5 sacks and once again made the All-Pro team. Even when the team wasn't doing well, Donald kept showing up and making plays. He became the one thing the Rams could always count on: consistency. In 2020, he turned things up again. Another 13.5 sacks, another All-Pro nod, and another Defensive Player of the Year trophy. That made 3 in total, something very few players in history have ever done. He was making history not just with his stats, but with how long he kept up this elite level of play. And what made it even more impressive, he did all this while facing more double teams than any other defender in the league. Yet somehow, he kept finding ways to win. In 2021, Aarondonald kept dominating. The Rams went all in, trading for quarterback Matthew Stafford and adding big names like Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr. Everyone expected the Rams to make a Super Bowl push, and Donald was the engine behind it all. That season, he recorded 12.5 sacks, 25 quarterback hits, and was again nearly impossible to block. He was still double-teamed more than almost any other player in the league, but that didn't stop him from wrecking games. Whether it was stopping the run or pressuring the quarterback, Donald was the heart of the Rams' defense. You could see it in every snap. He brought the energy, the fight, and the leadership. Then came the playoffs. Donald wasn't just good, he was clutch. He helped take down the Cardinals in the wild-card round and disrupted Tom Brady and the Bucs in the divisional round. But it was the NFC Championship against the 49ers where Donald showed what he was made of. The Rams had lost 6 straight to San Francisco, and they were trailing again. But Donald rallied the team and in the final moments pressured Jimmy Garoppolo into a game-ending interception. That one play punched the Rams' ticket to the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl against the Bengals, everything came down to the final drive. The Bengals had one last shot, needing just a yard to keep the game alive. And of course, it was Aarondonald who broke through the line, wrapped up Joe Burrow, and sealed the win. The Rams were champions, and Donald was the hero. After the game, Donald hinted at retirement. He had finally done it all: multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards, a Super Bowl win, endless All-Pro and Pro Bowl selections. But then, the Rams convinced him to stay. They gave him a new contract that made him the highest-paid non-quarterback in the NFL. In 2022, for the first time in his career, Donald missed time due to injury. He suffered a high ankle sprain and played only 11 games. Still, he managed 5 sacks and made the Pro Bowl. But the team struggled. Injuries piled up, and the Rams missed the playoffs. In 2023, people wondered if Donald had anything left. The Rams had changed. No more Jalen Ramsey, no more Bobby Wagner. It looked like a rebuilding year. But Donald came back hungry. He finished with 8 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, and 23 quarterback hits. He led a young defense and helped the Rams surprise everyone by making the playoffs. Even though they lost in the first round, Donald showed he was still elite. And then, in March 2024, he retired. After 10 incredible seasons, 8 All-Pro selections, 3 Defensive Player of the Year trophies, and 1 Super Bowl ring, Aarondonald said he was done. He walked away while still at the top. He wasn't just one of the best, he was unstoppable. A player that quarterbacks feared and that fans will never forget.